Well, for purposes of brevity, I didn't recite all the reasons for which I am intensely skeptical about Donald Trump's true intentions. I could have talked about the criminal war of aggression on Iran. I could have talked about the fact that they pretended to be negotiating with the Islamic Republic when in fact they were preparing to launch this criminal war of aggression. I could have talked about the bombardment of Yemen, the assassination of Qasem Soleimani at the end of the first Trump administration, the fact that the first Trump administration, was the first U.S. administration to provide lethal weaponry to Ukraine. I could have talked about the fact that the Trump administration destroyed the JCPOA with Iran and pulled the United States out of the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty. What I see in Donald Trump's record, and by the way, Alex, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said about the history of the British Empire. And, it's very important that be said. And I don't discount that at all. But when I look at the totality of Donald Trump's record, not just in Palestine and not just in this administration, what I see is a bloodthirsty warmonger, a man who is committed to U.S. hegemony and who is trying desperately, in my view, because he made a commitment to his base. And a lot of people in the United States wanted an end to the forever wars, and they still do. So Donald Trump, knowing full well that he could win quite a few votes by making that pitch, and by the way, that entire issue was ceded to him by the Democrats. The Democrats didn't even pretend to be interested in peace. They didn't even pretend to be interested in talking to the Russians. So he made that commitment, and now he has a political problem. And the political problem is he needs to appear as though he's really trying hard to bring an end to the Ukraine war. And this Alaska summit, to my mind, was largely theater. And he knew perfectly well that the Europeans were going to nix it, that Zelensky was going to continue to take a maximalist approach to any type of negotiation with Russia. And then he could point the finger at them and blame them. And I think this is exactly, I was predicting this was going to happen. And as what I can see is that this is exactly what is playing out. He could force an end to this war. He has the leverage over European governments and Zelensky to do that. He's refusing to use that leverage, just as he's refusing to use his leverage over the Israeli regime. And the only other thing I want to say is, I think that the political environment has changed when it comes to the war in Gaza. It's not a war, it's a genocide. And that is to say that the polls show that even in the United States, people are now more sympathetic. More people are sympathetic with the Palestinians than there are with the Israelis. The proportion of people in the West who think that Israel is committing genocide is either approaching a majority in the United States or is in excess of a majority. Within the Democratic Party, there's intense hostility towards Israel. So Donald Trump is operating in a very different political environment now than Jeremy Corbyn was operating in. And I think that if he brought an end to this war, the man would be a hero with probably 2/3 of the voters in every Western country and non-Western country. Well, actually, much more than 2/3 in the non-Western countries of this world. He would elevate himself to the status of a person who actually potentially could make a claim to deserving the Nobel Peace Prize. If he brought this to an end definitively and used his leverage to ensure that the Palestinian people had justice at last, he has no interest in doing that, as far as I can tell. So I'm intensely skeptical, and I would love to be wrong about this. I really would. I hope you're right.